In January of 2026, the world watched in shock as Venezuela once again became the focus of global attention. A secret military operation carried out by elite American special forces unfolded deep inside Caracas, the crowded and restless capital of the country. The mission was dangerous, fast, and highly controversial. Its objective was the arrest of Venezuela's sitting president, Nicolás Maduro. Within hours, the operation was complete. Maduro was captured, removed from Venezuelan territory, and transported across the ocean to the United States, where he was scheduled to face trial in a federal court. For many, it felt unreal. A president of a sovereign nation standing trial in another country was something rarely seen in modern history. This dramatic moment raised powerful questions. How did Venezuela, a nation blessed with vast natural wealth and extraordinary beauty, reach such a point? How did a country once considered one of the richest in South America fall into economic collapse, political crisis, and international isolation? To understand the events of 2026, one must look far beyond modern politics. The story of Venezuela is long, complex, and deeply shaped by history. Long before oil, before borders, and before foreign powers arrived, the land that would one day be called Venezuela was already alive with human activity. Thousands of years ago, the first people settled in this region, drawn by its rivers, fertile land, and rich wildlife. Archaeological evidence found near ancient riverbeds in western Venezuela shows that humans lived here as early as 15,000 years ago. Stone tools shaped like leaves reveal how these early inhabitants hunted, prepared food, and survived in a world far different from today. These early communities lived alongside enormous animals that no longer exist. Giant ground sloths, massive armadillos, and other prehistoric creatures roamed the land. The people adapted carefully to their environment, learning how to hunt, gather, and move with the seasons. Their lives were closely connected to nature, and survival depended on cooperation and knowledge passed down through generations. Venezuela's economy became dangerously dependent on a single resource. For a time, democracy appeared. After decades of dictatorship, Venezuela enjoyed relative political stability from the late 1950s onward. Oil revenues fueled development, education, and modernization. By the 1970s, Venezuela was among the richest nations in Latin America. But when oil prices collapsed, the system collapsed with them. Economic crisis, corruption, and public anger paved a way for a new figure. A former army officer named Hugo Chavez promised revolution. Elected in 1998, he reshaped Venezuela's politics, expanded social programs, and challenged global powers. But he also centralized authority and weakened institutions. When Chavez died, Nicolás Maduro inherited a broken system. Falling oil prices exposed deep structural failures. Hyperinflation destroyed savings. Food and medicine vanished. Millions fled the country. This long chain of history led directly to the crisis of 2026. Venezuela's story is not just about one leader or one event. It is the story of land, people, power, wealth, and repeated cycles of hope and collapse. Whether the nation can finally break free from its past remains an open question. As the 20th century moved forward, Venezuela became more tightly bound to oil than ever before. What had once seemed like a blessing slowly turned into a trap. Oil money flowed easily, and governments grew used to spending without planning for the future. Farming and local industries were neglected because importing goods with oil dollars was cheaper and faster. Over time, the country lost the ability to support itself without oil. This made Venezuela extremely vulnerable to changes in global energy prices. During the long rule of Juan Vicente Gómez, oil strengthened the state but weakened society. Roads and infrastructure improved, yet education and health services lagged behind. Political opposition was crushed, and fear became a tool of governance. When Gómez died, the nation hoped for reform, but old habits remained deeply rooted. Power continued to concentrate in the hands of a few, and oil wealth rarely reached the poor. In the decades that followed, Venezuela experienced moments of optimism. Democratic governments promised equality and progress. The Punto Fijo Pact created political stability by ensuring peaceful transitions of power. For many years, this system worked. Oil revenues funded public projects, expanded education, and raised living standards. Caracas became a modern city filled with confidence and ambition. Venezuelans believed their country had finally found its path. But beneath the surface, serious problems were growing. Corruption spread quietly through institutions. Government spending increased without saving for future downturns. When oil prices fell in the 1980s, the illusion collapsed. Inflation rose, jobs disappeared, and debt grew rapidly. Ordinary people felt betrayed by leaders who had promised prosperity. The breaking point came in 1989, when fuel prices rose and public transportation costs increased. Anger exploded into the streets. Massive protests erupted across Caracas and other cities. What began as demonstrations quickly turned violent. The government responded with military force. Soldiers were sent into poor neighborhoods, and hundreds, possibly thousands, were killed. This event, known as El Caracazo, shattered trust between the people and the state. After El Caracazo, Venezuela was never the same. Many citizens lost faith in democracy as they knew it. The traditional political parties were seen as corrupt and disconnected from reality. In this atmosphere of frustration and despair, new voices began to rise from within the military itself. One of those voices belonged to Hugo Chávez. In 1992, Chávez led a failed coup against the government. Although the attempt did not succeed, his brief appearance on national television changed everything. Speaking calmly, he accepted responsibility and said the mission had failed for now. Those two words made him a symbol of resistance for millions who felt ignored and abused by the system. He was imprisoned, but his popularity only grew. When he was released, he transformed himself into a political figure. He traveled the country, listening to the poor and promising a radical break from the past. In 1998, he won the presidency with overwhelming support. Many Venezuelans believed he represented real change at last. Once in power, Chávez moved quickly. He rewrote the constitution, expanded presidential authority, and renamed the country the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Oil revenues surged during the 2000s, giving him the money needed to fund massive social programs. Clinics, schools, and food subsidies reached millions who had long been forgotten. For many, Chávez was a hero. But power came at a cost. Independent institutions weakened. The judiciary, media, and electoral systems slowly lost autonomy. Private businesses were taken over by the state. Price controls distorted markets. Production fell, while dependence on oil deepened further. When oil prices were high, these problems were hidden. When oil prices fell, disaster followed. After Chávez's death in 2013, Nicolás Maduro inherited a fragile system without Chávez's charisma or legitimacy. Almost immediately, oil prices collapsed. Without oil money, the government could not sustain subsidies or imports. Inflation exploded into hyperinflation. Money lost value so fast that salaries became meaningless. Shelves emptied. Hospitals ran out of medicine. Hunger spread. Millions of Venezuelans made the painful decision to leave their homeland. Families were separated. Professionals fled. One of the largest migration crises in modern history unfolded quietly across Latin America. Those who stayed faced daily hardship, fear, and uncertainty. Political tensions rose sharply. In 2019, opposition leader Juan Guaidó declared himself interim president, supported by the U.S. and many other countries. Maduro refused to step down, backed by the military and foreign allies. Venezuela became divided between rival claims to power. Sanctions tightened, further damaging the economy. Ordinary people suffered most. Years passed with no clear resolution. Protests were crushed. Opposition leaders were arrested or forced into exile. The state relied increasingly on force to survive. By the mid-2020s, Venezuela was exhausted, its economy shattered, its institutions hollow, its people worn down. This was the context in which the shocking events of January 2026 occurred. When American forces launched Operation Absolute Resolve, the world reacted with disbelief. Supporters argued it was necessary to restore stability and justice. Critics called it a violation of international law. Inside Venezuela, reactions were mixed. Some celebrated, others feared chaos. The capture of Nicolas Maduro did not instantly solve Venezuela's problems. Power structures remained, institutions weak, trust was broken, the future was uncertain. Yet, for the first time in years, a door seemed to open. Venezuela now stands at a crossroads shaped by centuries of history. From ancient civilizations to colonial conquest, from independence to oil wealth, from democracy to authoritarianism, the same patterns repeat. Concentrated power, dependence on resources, and broken promises have defined the nation's path. Whether the nation can finally escape this cycle remains unknown. True stability requires more than removing one leader. It demands rebuilding institutions, restoring trust, diversifying the economy, and healing deep social wounds. History shows how difficult that task is. Still, history also shows that Venezuelan people have survived invasions, dictators, disasters, and collapse. Their resilience has carried them through centuries of struggle. The next chapter has not yet been written. The removal of Nicolas Maduro did not instantly heal Venezuela. Decades of damage could not be erased by a single dramatic event. The country remained fragile, wounded by years of economic collapse, political division, and social trauma. Institutions that once supported democracy had been weakened for so long that rebuilding them would require patience, honesty, and unity. Many Venezuelans understood that the hardest work was only beginning. In the weeks following the 2026 operation, temporary authorities struggled to maintain order. Some political prisoners were released, offering a small sign of hope. Exiled opposition figures cautiously returned, while others waited, uncertain if the change would last. The military remained a powerful force, and its loyalty became one of the most important questions for the nation's future. International reactions were deeply divided. Some governments welcomed the removal of Maduro and promised economic assistance if democratic reforms followed. Others condemned the operation, warning that foreign intervention could create long-term instability. Venezuela once again became a stage for global power struggles, just as it had been many times before in its history. Inside the country, ordinary people focused less on politics and more on survival. Years of hyperinflation had destroyed savings. Entire generations had grown up knowing only shortages and uncertainty. Teachers, doctors, engineers, and students had either left the country or abandoned their professions. Rebuilding human capital became as urgent as rebuilding the economy. Oil, once the source of Venezuela's pride, remained both a blessing and a curse. The nation still possessed some of the largest oil reserves in the world, but production had collapsed due to mismanagement, sanctions, and lack of investment. Reviving the energy sector required trust from international partners and transparent leadership at home. Many argued that Venezuela must finally learn to depend on more than oil alone. Agriculture, manufacturing, and small businesses slowly began to reappear in local communities. Markets reopened. Neighborhood cooperation returned in small but meaningful ways. These quiet changes rarely made headlines, but they reflected a deep desire among Venezuelans to reclaim control over their own lives. History weighs heavily on Venezuela. From the time of Spanish conquest, power was concentrated in the hands of a few. Independence replaced foreign rulers with local strongmen. Oil replaced kings, and presidents ruled like monarchs. Again and again, institutions were sacrificed for short-term control. Again and again, hope rose and collapsed. Yet Venezuela's story is not only one of failure. It is also a story of resilience. Indigenous cultures survived conquest. The nation survived colonial rule, civil wars, dictatorships, and economic collapse. Ordinary people continued to sing, create, and care for one another, even in the darkest times. This strength remains Venezuela's greatest resource. The question now is whether the country can finally break its historical cycle. Can leaders build systems stronger than individuals? Can oil wealth be managed wisely instead of abused? Can trust be restored between the state and the people? These questions have no easy answers, but they define Venezuela's future. The past shows what happens when power is unchecked and institutions are weak. The present offers a fragile opportunity to choose a different path. The future will depend on whether lessons learned through centuries of struggle are finally taken seriously. Venezuela stands once more at the edge of history, not as the land of endless promise, nor as the symbol of collapse, but as a nation searching for balance. What comes next will not be decided by one leader, one election, or one foreign power. It will be shaped slowly by the choices of its people. The story of Venezuela is still being written, and perhaps for the first time in a long while, the pen is no longer held by a single hand. If you stayed until the end, thank you. If this story helped you understand Venezuela a little better, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to English Atrium. Your support helps us create more clear, meaningful English stories about the world we live in.